So our second panel this morning is invest in everyday energy savings. And we've made a couple of switches. We have Dan Schaefer and Paavo Salmi taking over where Dave Bracciano and Doris Heitzman were. Dr. Languell is still with us, Mikle Gordon, and Jeremiah Rohr. So I know some of you had a lot of questions on energy, and we really want to stress the interconnectedness of energy and water. So the first question I'm going to ask of the panel, we've been talking a lot about low-hanging options, low-tech things. What are some of the other things that homeowners should determine to do? What are the next best projects that they should get engaged in if they're already doing some of the low-hanging options?
So, we had conversations about low-hanging fruit, and low-hanging fruit is that what we call the no and low-cost stuff, and that's the light bulbs and or the weather stripping or caulking, those types of things. And then the next progressive steps that we would look at taking would be really trying to expand addressing that building envelope. And so I think 2 years ago we talked about how adding some additional attic insulation could pay for itself over 1 or 2 summers with your AC bills, or looking at things like radiant barriers. If you have a window that has a lot of exposure to the sun, you might want to add some window tint. So those are things that instead of a $20 or $50 investment might be a $500 to $1,000 investment. And then we can start going above and beyond that to the next level, where we start addressing the mechanical equipment, which could be going from a traditional electric hot water heater to a heat pump hot water heater, or to a solar hot water heater, or going to high efficiency air conditioners. So it's this level of progression where we try and get the low cost things because they are easy to stomach when you're slapping down a Visa bill or whatever the case may be. But then starting to progress to that better insulation and looking at better equipment. So we can address specific things. And one of the questions, and I don't mean to call anyone out, but we were talking about light bulbs and how important it was with this specific light bulb and how to fix this. And I said, well, you're very, very focused on this lighting issue, and the reality is if you put a timer on your hot water heater, you probably could save more power than in one day than you did all year on that one light bulb. So it's also attacking the things that are big bang for the buck, and don't get so concerned or worried about any one little item. Look at that bigger picture and what is really using the most power in your home, and address those items.
Michael?
All right, let me start with your folder, and let me see by raise of hands who has a folder. They got a folder.
They all have a folder.
Okay, excellent. The reason why I wanted to point that out, because there's some information in there that talks about energy conservation. And when we think about 3 things, we think about no cost, low cost, and then some high investment or some investment. So let's start with the first one, that no cost one. By going to recommendations on this sheet, those are associated with behaviors. So thermostat settings, we like air conditioning. Our recommendation is 78 degrees on your thermostat setting. During the summertime, during the wintertime, we recommend 68 to 70. So that's a behavior change. A lot of times, again, that behavior change is really about that no-cost investment that doesn't cost you anything to do or any investment up front at all. Then we get into our low-cost investment, and I think you heard Dr. Languell talk about, looking at insulation, looking at, duct work. We talked about it earlier, sealing up duct works. When we look at doing an energy check, one thing we focus on when we come out to a customer's home is that we're going to send somebody to take a look into your attic. A lot of us don't spend a lot of time up there. I know me personally, I don't like being up there very long. It's pretty hot during the summertime, but we do spend time up there to help identify where some of those, I said, medium cost or low cost solutions could be addressed. And also we pay incentives to help you, let's say seal up duct work or provide insulation. So those are opportunities there. And then when you get into some of the higher investments for those that have heat pump systems or what we consider straight cool systems with the heat strip, we offer incentives to help you go to a high efficiency air conditioning system or high efficiency heat pump. So make sure you take a look at this information. Visit our website, www.duke-energy.com. There's information on there that's going to tell you about all of our programs. But the first one I just want to make sure we talked about is that no-cost solution is really is up to each one of you in this room, and that's really to look at it from a behavior standpoint.
Jeremiah?
Yeah, I'd certainly like to echo that comment of your power usage. And actually, there's some really good monitoring systems that are coming out on the market where you can actually hook it up to your, every month you get an electric bill, but you may not know, what did I spend all that on? But there are real-time monitoring systems that you can put on your house, and you can actually see what kind of energy you're using. I stuck one of these things. I have an entertainment center at my house. It's got the TV and all that stuff. And I put a kilowatt meter on that, and I found out that my entertainment center uses more electricity for 20 hours that I'm not using that system than the 4 hours that I do use it per day. So I got one, I just put it on a power strip, and I turn that thing off when I'm done at night, and then I turn it on in the day. So those type of usages really, that kind of stuff really affects your power bill much more. Turning off lights when you leave the room, turning your AC up when you leave the house, those kind of things really do affect, how much energy you're going to consume. And a statement that was made earlier, the energy that you don't use is the most cost-effective energy that you're going to ever produce. So that's always number one. When we start getting into active systems, we do have to inject energy into our homes because of the lifestyles that we like. The biggest sexy thing in the eco world is solar panel, PV panels. I'm going to produce power that way. But in actuality, the most cost-effective of solar energy that you can use, especially in Florida, is solar hot water heating. This is free energy from the sun that you can just, and hot water heating, especially if you have electric hot water heating, can be 20%, 30% of your energy bill. So if you can displace that usage with a solar heater or some other type of heating element or on-demand tankless hot water heaters, you're really going to affect your energy consumption dramatically. And then as you go up the scale, I'm more than happy to sell you a great big PV system, but the more you can reduce your energy consumption, the smaller the system you can buy, and then, that's a smaller investment. So, behavior and being able to monitor your energy usage, you'd be surprised where your energy is being consumed. And, we all love our cell phones and our laptops and stuff like that, but those things consume a lot of energy in these phantom loads that we have all over. Anything that has a light on it, your refrigerator has a little light telling you, that's just consuming energy all the time. So be very careful about your appliance purchases and things that you have plugged in. You may not know where your energy is going.
We're talking and we're hinting around at this behavior thing, and as I mentioned earlier, it's like I can make an extremely efficient building if I took the people out of it. And so we were at a conference in August called Green Trends. It was down in Sarasota. It's the Florida Green Building Coalition Conference. And Deirdre Irwin, who is with the Water Management District up in St. John's, was talking about how she made her kids change the bathroom that they used because she had them start showering in the bathroom that was closer to the hot water tank, so that they weren't turning the water on and waiting that 3 or 4 minutes. It seems like you're waiting for the hot water to get all the way over to that far bathroom. And she said that was a simple behavior change of, okay, kids, instead of showering at this end of the house, which is completely opposite from where the hot water heater is, go shower in this bathroom. And she said she was saving hundreds of gallons of water that were being wasted every day in every shower. And so they weren't taking shorter showers. They weren't taking anything, different. It was just shifting the bathroom that was being used. And so we actually, as of the last 2 weeks, have started doing that at our house now. The 6-year-old who decides he wants to sit down in the shower and just let the rain fall on his head, I haven't been able to solve that problem yet, but at least shifting what shower they're in. So in a few months, we might have some interesting data on that. But that's a no-cost behavior change, and those are the types of things that I think, we're talking about. We want technology and widgets to solve all our problems, and a lot of our problems are us.
Here's a new question here for Mikle Gordon. Are there changes to the energy incentive program as a result of your recent merger with Progress?
Okay. Good question. Again, we recently went through a merger, and going from Progress to Duke did not change in terms of our programs. Our programs still are in existence, where we do offer incentives for residential as well as commercial customers. Again, we talked about rebates for heat pumps. So if you're going to be putting in a high-efficiency heat pump, there's incentives that still exist there. A duct test and repair program, where we come in and do a performance test on the home and ultimately identify where duct leakage, where you're having some leakage at. And again, you must have an all-electric home to qualify for that. We will, again, incentivize, pay a part of the cost, the first $150 of the repair. And it's a very low-cost investment to have that completed. We offer incentives for insulation, windows, window screen, window tint. So all of those programs still exist in terms of incentives that we offer and help our customers to help improve the efficiency of their home.
Thank you, Michael. Pavel, you're working with a local company that's doing some innovative new housing development project. Can you tell us about that project, and then tell us some of the energy and water features that are in there to promote conservation?
Yeah, it's EcoVillage Dunedin. It's a Pinellas County Housing Finance Authority and City of Dunedin joined forces, and we work with them in a public-private partnership project. It's pretty exciting. It's 25 net zero energy townhomes, affordable housing that if the stars are aligned, we should have the site development permit in our hands next week, and the shovels will hit the ground. And we're going to start building something that's probably definitely first of its kind in Florida, but might be even in the whole country. And what makes it exciting for us is that being able to design and engineer and develop something to a kind of new market sector in the affordable housing area. Many of these homes have to be sold to people with the 80% median income level in the county, and really the target market is to kind of change the trend as to what the typical perception is for energy efficient housing and homes. In addition to that, we're very fortunate to team up with General Electric. And this is the very first affordable net zero energy GE Eco Imagination project in the world. And they are quite excited about working with us in doing this type of project. And it's in our mind, our purpose is to create a blueprint that we can then use as a starting point in changing the trend in all of the future projects in our area, in the state, and then also further across the nation. I was reading this packet when I came in here, and it has concepts like the whole house systems approach and LED lighting and the items that you were talking about, and that's exactly the approach we took, where we kind of looked at the whole scenario, not only from the perspective of energy efficiency, but also the value engineering aspect of it. Typically, items like solar are looked at that it's an extremely questionable investment today as far as the paybacks and the affordability of it. But as we are seeing almost now on a monthly basis, the cost of solar is coming down, efficiency of the systems are going up, and we are really able to as we call it, cash flow these systems day one, which means that the cost of the system on a monthly basis is less than versus the electricity it provides, especially here in our area. So that's kind of in a nutshell what EcoVillage Dunedin is all about, and you can learn more about that project at ecovillagedunedin.com if you're interested.
Okay, thanks. I think we also have some video about the EcoVillage project that's available on our PCC TV, the government TV channel. It's also on YouTube. If people look for PCC TV 1, is that it? YouTube channel, or go to the county website to search for that. And we've got some nice video coverage of that. The PinellasCounty.org homepage has a direct link to that as well.
Thank you, Paavo. I'm going to ask Dan to tell us a little bit about clean energy. And we've heard some rumblings again this year about property assessed clean energy. And I'm wondering if you could tell us a little bit about that program and tell us how a residential program, whatever framework, will be able to benefit Pinellas County homeowners and Tampa Bay homeowners overall.
Well, so there's kind of some good news and some bad news. The property assessed clean energy seems like a new concept, but it's really been around for about 5 years now. And what it allows residential and commercial property owners to do is effectively access available capital in their home to do these specific type of upgrades we've been talking about today. You're very limited to energy efficiency, renewable energy, water, and wind hardening in the state of Florida. And what's unique about the program is that you effectively borrow this money, but it's not a personal loan. It's really loaned to your building, and then it's paid back with the property taxes. So it allows you to do this in a way that it costs you no money out of pocket, and it's not considered debt to you because it's associated with your building. So if you sell your building or your house, it stays with the building like all the other taxes. The bad news is the program is really not available here in Pinellas County, but the good news is that Pinellas County, I believe we submitted about 2 weeks ago an RFP where they are going to select a vendor, and should we be chosen, then you'll see more of us. Should we not be chosen, you won't probably see that much of us, to implement a property assessed clean energy for the entire county, which is really quite exciting. I will say hats off to the leadership of Pinellas County, because as much as it seems like every county in the country should be doing this, it's a sporadic adoption, if you would, and Pinellas County is the only county in the state of Florida that actually issued an RFP in this calendar year. So, hats off to the visionary folks that did that, and should we be successful, this program would be available probably early next year, and we'll make, and whoever does it, I'm sure will make it available, and it's really a great way for folks to do this without any out-of-pocket cost.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Languell, what do you see as the most common home construction flaw in regards to energy inefficiency in our area?
Minus the people, right?
Minus the people.
We go back to that human element. I think for new construction, our biggest hurdle that we find is that we're still enamored by sparkly things, granite countertops and recycled glass tile and bamboo flooring or cork flooring, and we like the pretty stuff because that's the stuff we see. So it makes sense that we do, and I think a lot of individuals don't look at that long-term investment, and when presented would you like a high-efficiency air conditioner, which is a metal box, or granite countertops, and they're both $5,000, we tend to pick the granite countertops because we know what those are and they look pretty. And there is also a perceived value associated and a real value associated with granite countertops, whereas the value, so to speak, associated with high-efficient air conditioners isn't necessarily as commonly known. And of course, we are lucky to have low energy rates, and sometimes it is just less expensive in the long term to buy power. And we alluded to that with respect to analyzing, solar in some instances. It doesn't always, the numbers don't always work. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But you really have to look at that as a long-term investment. People look at purchasing cars, and cars which we're looking at the safety rating, we're looking at the resale value, we're looking at the number of cup holders. You put more decision tools into a car purchase, which is a tenth of what you're going to spend, or 10 or 20% of what you spend on a house. So we don't necessarily perceive or look at houses and go, oh, is this going to maintain its value? Does this have good resale? Safety, is this a healthy and efficient house? We don't look and perceive homes the same way. So I think a lot of it has to do with homeowner education and understanding how, again, informed decision making. So the flaw I see is we're not putting necessarily the right things in a house, and the things that I see missing quite often are the easy things to make the house more efficient. And they could be sometimes just having light switches in appropriate places. So if the light switch for that light is on a path I don't walk regularly, when I'm leaving the house, I might not flip that light switch off. So a lot of it just has to do with convenience. You know, we like things to be convenient. So that's what I see missing.
Just to add a little bit to that, and absolutely everything is correct. One of the things that we've been spending a lot of resources and research and design, from a design perspective, is to address exactly that kind of assessment, where typically when the home is properly engineered and designed, we can show the homeowner where the decision where you have to decide between the high efficiency, 18-SEER HVAC unit versus the marble, countertop or whatever it might be, is actually where, for example, a home we built here in Madeira Beach was a 16-SEER HVAC system, net zero energy home, 2,700 square feet, 3-story, and only needed 2.2-ton HVAC system, which means that it wasn't now $7,000 for the HVAC system, it's only $3,000, and we still achieved exactly the same end result. So when the home is properly engineered in that regard, we are starting to see where those kind of decisions don't have to be made anymore. If you want to upgrade your countertops, you can, and you can still have the net zero energy home. A final note is that we look at it from a perspective that, in our team, we have, our guys have built hundreds of net zero energy homes, certified thousands of homes, and when we look at every one of our current home plans, every one of them you can go to local Lowe's and buy everything you need from that Lowe's to build a home, which means that there is no custom ordered or a custom designed mechanical or technological elements in those homes anymore. Everything is readily available for these types of high performance homes.
Go ahead, Michael.
Consumers today are a lot more savvy versus before 1979. I'm going to go back in a bit. So a lot of I think it's more of a push and pull. So what we're seeing today, and I think builders understand that, some of the things they offer are going to be a part of that standard package. So the countertop discussion, I think, does happen, but builders understand that a lot of times to basically be able to hit the right market, they're including some of those things in their standard package. What we do as a utility, our goal is to help builders kind of put together whatever that package is so that we can help, again, incentivize them for building more efficient homes. And so we work closely with our builders through our Home Advantage program, which is about, again, target toward the builder to build that more efficient home. Not only does it apply to the residential single-family home, but we also work with our multifamily market. So when the new condos are being built, we're also working with that specific market as well to help kind of, let's again, begin to raise the bar in terms of building more efficient homes in our communities.
Tried to get in before when Dan was speaking. Where can we write or call to help that program to be in this county?
Well, there's this wonderful term called the cone of silence, and every time I hear that, I think about the Get Smart show with that thing that comes down and never works. So I'm not exactly sure how much I can say, but I can say that the county is definitely in the process of doing it, and probably if you check the county website, it's public information when they will be reporting the results as to their selection of a vendor, and then there are hearings. And so encouraging your county commissioners to move forward with the program is the best thing you can really do. But at this point, I think it's probably a little, early in the process. But certainly, I would say in the next 60 days, I think a lot will happen. And there'll be a posted hearing, and you can go and encourage them to move forward with this type of program. But as I said, really, Pinellas County is the only county that's very active in bringing on a new program right now in the state. So they're already doing the right thing.
I would like to, he may have the cone of silence over his head, but I don't. So I would definitely encourage you to talk to your public officials. Energy is a state level and a county level thing. Talk to your representatives, both the county commissioners, your state legislators, all those people. Elections do make a difference, and your politicians do make a difference. The more they hear from you, the more these guys spend a lot of money influencing our elected officials. So we have to counter that with conversation with them that you care.
Thank you, Jeremiah. My next question was for you, Jeremiah. You've been talking a lot, and we've heard from our audience about the tankless water heater, the storage water heater, the solar water heater. How does a homeowner or a Joe homeowner out there make that determination of which one of those options best fit if they're in need of replacing? Because we know there's a lot of emphasis on saving energy and saving water, and which one of those? If you can tell us 3 things maybe that a homeowner should probably consider as they're trying to upgrade.
When you're thinking about a hot water heater in particular, one of the things I would like to mention is that if you see that your hot water is getting a little long in the tooth, start to investigate other systems that you may want to use, because when it breaks, you're going to want to get it fixed very quickly, and the quickest thing you do is you just run out to Home Depot and buy a new electric hot water heater and stick it in, just because you want hot water tomorrow or tonight. I would certainly encourage you looking at solar hot water heating or the tankless hot water heaters, other alternatives. Hot water is a basic fundamental issue that we all need and want for sanitation purposes. The different types of systems that are out there are storage systems. You're just going to need to be ready to do that and have that information available to you. Hot water systems work very well, especially in Florida. There's a number of different types of systems that you can do, and your solar contractors certainly can get out there and take a look at it and make you aware of the different things that you want to do. Well, in sizing a system, it's all about consumption. So if you're a family of 5 or something like that, parents and a couple of kids, you're going to use a lot more hot water than if you're a single person living in a house by yourself. So how much hot water you use certainly depends on the type of system that you want to install on your system or on your home. So consumption is always, with any decision up here, consumption is always where you have to start. How much energy do I need? So we have a variety of systems out there to use, and you can pick those depending on what kind of stuff you need.
On that line of thought, years ago, the solar heating system or the solar electrical systems for the house were way too expensive. They have come down dramatically, but how long do you think before they really become affordable? One question. And the second question is, at this point, if I were to go and buy one for my house, how many years before it pays for itself?
Okay, so this is the question we always get on this. Again, I'll divide this answer into 2 parts, because we have the thermal side, which is your hot water, and your photovoltaic, which is electricity. A thermal system will pay you back, depending on how much hot water you use and what kind of energy you're using to make your hot water, will pay itself back in probably 4 or 5 years. So a thermal system, it's very established technology. It's not real hard technology, and that the hot water systems are well established and very, very easy to use and very what's the word I'm looking for? Reliable and that kind of stuff over the long term. So a thermal system will pay you back in 3 to 4 years. When we start getting into the photovoltaic side and the electric side, what the photovoltaic panels are basically a computer chip. And we all know what's happened to computer chips over the past 30 years. They get more powerful and less expensive every year. So those cost factors are coming down dramatically. And we're looking at, 5 years ago, we were selling at $10 a watt, and we had a $2 rebate from the state, and we were selling a lot of systems at $8 a watt. Well, today, our systems are selling at $4 a watt. And that was only in 4 or 5 years. So those incentives are not around, but a system today is cheaper than one that was available even 5 years ago with rebates. So that one of the other things you have to consider about a photovoltaic system in particular is that it's a long-term investment. And a lot of times we worry about, well, it's going to take me 6 years to pay that back, but that system's also going to last you for 30 years. And so in 30 years, you're still going to need electricity. I will guarantee that. And so in 30 years, you will have bought that system 3 or 4 times. So pay me now, pay me later, or pay me now or pay him later is basically how it works. And you have to look at those things as long-term investments rather than just short-term, what's happening to me tomorrow. And for some people that makes sense, and for other people it doesn't make sense. You have to look through the financial models. But I will say that it starts paying back immediately. As soon as you turn the system on, your energy bill goes down because you are your own power company now. So, a typical PV system on a home today is about a 6-year payback, depending on size and all that kind of stuff, but it kind of averages in that. And we do expect that to keep decreasing over time.
Okay, thank you, Jeremiah. We have a question from the audience.
I would just like to kind of ask, I think it might be you, Dr. Jennifer, about so many of the homes in our neighborhoods are concrete block built in the 70s. And it seems as though we can do a lot of things to low-hanging fruit, but the walls in the winter are cold inside, and it seems like that concrete block just makes the house cold. Is there anything kind of a fix for the exterior and insulation or inside, or is there any way to do anything with these concrete block homes, old concrete block homes? Thank you.
My house was an old concrete block home, and I pulled those slides out and I left them at the end of the presentation in case we needed them, but it was concrete block built in 1974. And when I did the remodel, I gutted the house because there was a bit of mold on some of the drywall when I bought the house. And I said, okay, I'm going to remove drywall until I find that there's no mold on the back of it. And guess what? The entire house was full. So I ended up basically dropping all the drywall. And I was able to pressure inject foam into the cells of the concrete block, which stop infiltration. So that's the leaks coming in through cracks and crevices. But that doesn't give you a thermal break, so to speak. A thermal break I achieved by putting a rigid foam up against the wall. And then on top of that goes your furring strips and your drywall. So it's difficult to do unless you're not doing a very large rehab. You can try to modify the colors of your home. They do have different paint products out there. But the challenge is that we just don't have a lot of thermal transfer through the walls in Florida. We don't have minus 20 degrees outside and we're trying to keep it 70 degrees inside. And so there are a few months out of the year that you're feeling uncomfortable, but the reality is the energy loss associated with that is minimal. So it's one of those diminishing return items. You're going to get much more payback if you insulate your attic than you would from insulating your walls. So it's, hitting the bigger bang items first. And the biggest bang item in Florida is not the walls. The thermal transfer that we lose through the walls is minimal. So it's going to be the leaks, it's going to be the windows, it's going to be the attic, it's going to be inefficient equipment. But the R value of the wall, the insulating value of the wall is not a huge thing for us. So it's cheaper to go, and buy a sweater than it is to try and address the issue of retrofitting a concrete block wall, because it's just a very invasive process, a destructive process to do.
Yeah. Can I just add a little bit to that as well? The payback on that is going to be a little bit longer. However, there is ways that you can have it done through wall injection insulation that you can have pumped into the walls. Now, we do offer a small incentive to do that, but you have to have an energy check first before we can offer that incentive and ultimately to see if you qualify. But to your point, there is a little longer payback. Insulation in the attic, you'll probably get a lot quicker payback than you will definitely get it through your walls.
Now, if you have stucco on the exterior, so where we've seen it work well is if you have a concrete block wall with a stucco exterior, they actually drill in from the outside and they can pressure inject foam into the walls. You have to be very careful, because if they get willy-nilly with the pressure, they'll blow the drywall off inside your house. So because the concrete block is stacked together with mortar, and there's holes and pockets in that mortar, and if it's been there since the 70s, it's fatigued, just like all of us are that have been around for that long. So just you have to have a good crew that knows what they're doing. And then they come back and they patch the stucco on the outside, and you have to repaint to finish it. But that's the only solution that we've seen retrofit for concrete block, is the pressure injected foams.
One last question from our audience for our panel.
Mine's real simple. This is for Mike. You keep on talking about rebates and so on. Are there any homeowner fixes where Duke would provide a rebate on, like for caulking and things of that sort? Because all the rebates that I've seen that you've offered in the past, I've got to go hire somebody to do it, and I do all my stuff. I do all my own work.
And that's a good point. I'll tell you, like I said, in most cases, if you can do it yourself and make sure it meets code and permitting, you're going to get a quicker payback anyway. And that's one point. But the other part, we do have some do-it-yourself programs, and one of the do-it-yourself programs is a window tinting. I'll be honest, I'm not the best window tinter. Okay. Whenever I tried, I had bubbles and everything else. But that's one of the programs that we do have, which is a window tinting program, which is a do-it-yourself program.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Let's thank our panelists today. Thanks again for coming today. Thanks to our panelists for doing such a great job in even distributing our door prizes today. That's awesome. Thanks again for coming today.